as learners. Step Up to Kinder supported our youngest learners who had not previously attended any school. So students practiced classroom routines, developed early language and social skills, built relationships with peers and adults, and became more comfortable and confident in the school environment. These experiences helped establish a stronger foundation for a successful start of the next school year.
Danya, let me interrupt you. Is this the summer learning presentation?
This is not the summer presentation. I know what I'm not going over that thing. Our extended school year provided continuity in instruction and IEP-based services for qualifying students. Through individualized academic and functional support, students were able to maintain an important skills, routines, and progress during the summer break. Across all three programs, we saw a common focus: student engagement, belonging, academic growth, creativity, collaboration, and confidence. Students were given meaningful opportunities to think critically, communicate, create, and problem solve. This work reflects the Burlingame School District's mission. We are developing resilient and curious learners. We're building compassionate communities, and we're creating opportunities to the student to become confident problem solvers who are prepared for the future. I'm grateful for our partnership with the champion team, the teachers, the support staff, the district team, the students, and the family who made these summer opportunities possible for our students. Their commitment ensured that learning, connection, and growth continued beyond the traditional school year. Our students remain at the center of this work, and their engagement reminds us that meaningful learning opportunities can happen throughout the school year and during summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. All right, we'll move on to item 7, statement of Dr. Marla Silversmith, Superintendent. Marla, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I'm sorry I can't be there in person tonight, but I have some great highlights from the summer. We rejoined CSEA at the negotiation table in July. We held a summer luncheon for all of our summer workers, our custodians, maintenance and operations, gardeners, everybody who worked very hard in July. We attended the San Mateo County Office of Ed Big 5 Administrator training on July 30th, and Jared Burkholder, our SRO, also attended with us. We did our admin retreat on the 3rd and the 4th, where we went over nuts and bolts and also just discussed communication going forward. On August 7th, we had a 504 IEP training for anybody that sits in a administrative position for an IEP. We did the ribbon cutting last night, which might have been the best event so far, at our Family Resource Center, which is brand new to our district, that will house an LVN and our coordinator of student and family engagement, and be available for families to receive and have access to resources. We also opened our new TK buildings at McKinley, which had been a long time coming, and it was beautiful to go through them and get to see the new striping on the south yard. We have tomorrow and the next day we have new staff orientation, which is where we're welcoming all of our new certificated and classified staff to Burlingame. We will have our staff PD day on August 17th, and of course the first day of school on August 19th. Prior to August 19th, there's still a lot of work to be done, and I just really want to take a moment and thank Jen Baker and Omar Escobar and everybody that has been working around the clock on our grounds and furniture and everything else to ensure that we are ready for the first day of school. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. All right, we'll move on to item 8, which is our consent agenda. These are items of business that we believe to be routine in nature, all recommended for approval by the administration. We've all reviewed. We can we'll vote on these as a block, but there's an opportunity to take anything off the consent agenda if we'd like to talk about it separately. So, would anyone care to remove anything from the consent agenda?
I don't want to remove anything. I just wanted to make a couple positive comments about it. This is the consent agenda that was thoughtful of good stuff. But this one in particular, I thought was great. First off, the HR items on the personnel action items, like, it's great. It's great to see so many hires, so many, adjustments, whatever adjustments need to happen, completely fine. But it was just great to see at the start of the school year, we have so many filled. And that was just welcome, and I don't think that's always the case. And I know it's really hard, and I know it's, all of these things. But I was just really kind of taken aback, and I was like, wow, this is great. And I know also as a second year that, with new teachers coming in, new personnel, it's really important for us to wrap our arms around them and really just help them succeed in these first few months in particular, because there will be adjustments, right? There will be for the kids and for everyone. So that was the first thing that I wanted to say. Great job to the team on that. And then the second piece is on this position of the director of student support services. That is fantastic. And I'm so excited to work with the team on this one. This is a role that I think has been needed for a bit. And I know that you all posted it, I think probably over the summer or something. And then, you never know how long it'll take, right? And you want to be patient, you want to find the right people. But this is so important. And I think it's a role that all of us would advocate for 100%. Obviously, you all know I'm a squeaky wheel on everything into special ed, and I think that will be housed under this, which is great. And so it's just welcome news as we start out the year.
Thank you so much. You want a motion?
Yeah, I'll be.
I'm sorry, to interrupt, public comment.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry.
Thank you.
I'll do that.
For item 8.
Good evening, trustees. I'm asking you actually to vote no on item 8DA. This item directs $278,350 of taxpayer funds to a new director of student support services. That is on top of a deputy superintendent of student support services who charges taxpayers roughly $360,000 per year. We spend more than $1 million per year on 3 superintendents. If we are already spending over $1 million a year on superintendents, why isn't that work already being done? Why are we paying a second time for something the superintendent should already be doing, with money that could go instead to classroom teacher salaries and hire more teachers? I think the honest answer is that the superintendent's office is severely distracted and not in productive ways. Two things. First, earlier this year, the superintendents asked the board to direct approximately $190,000 of district money to what appears to be former associates of Devin Fletcher, a convicted federal criminal serving a 30-month sentence in order to repay $593,000 he invested in the Tulsa Public Schools. The money from Burlingame that our superintendents wanted to give to the apparent associates of Mr. Fletcher was to go to an out-of-state LLC outside of the district's RFP process to help the superintendents find the North Star. Second, beginning last year, the superintendent's office adopted race-based selection criteria for district committees and has pursued them since. Criteria prohibited by Article 1, Section 31 of the California Constitution and Education Code Section 220. The California Department of Education has twice returned this district's investigation as sufficient. 3 reports, and yet the district superintendent still declined to use findings the state that ordered of them, while further spending district funds on their outside counsel, something. Given the level of dysfunction at the top, it is not surprising that student services feel absent in our schools. But the proposed fix, another $250,000 of district office bureaucracy, does not solve that problem. Papers over. It asks teachers, students, parents, and taxpayers to fund a workaround for administration that already costs far too much than it should. Meanwhile, our schools, our staff, are short of staff with actually matters. For example, PE classes are running at 48 students per
McLaughlin, you're talking about.
$278,000 plus two
Mr.
teachers.
McLaughlin.
So before you add another district, executive, direct executives you already have to do the work.
Mr. McLaughlin, I'm sorry to interrupt. Your time is up. Thank you.
Please support our taxpayers, our classrooms, our students and teachers, not an overloaded bureaucracy.
Thank you, Brent. All right, now we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve this agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. You. Item 9 is education. And 9A is the update on summer learning opportunities.
It's me again. You have it.
Think so.
Here I am again. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being. No, I keep talking. Okay. So this summer we offered 3 targeted programs, learning programs. Each one of them served different groups of students based on their needs. Each program had a purpose. Together we formed a continuum. From school readiness to academic to enrichment to continuity of special education services over the summer time. So it was designed on purpose so that we didn't offer one program that fits all because we know that this is not what the student need. The second part that I want to really focus on is how everything is aligned to the mission and vision of Burlingame School District. Our vision is to support leaders, challenging leaders, thinkers, and creators of tomorrow. And this is where we wanted to build more resilient and compassionate problem solvers to students. And all of these programs supported this vision and this mission. Students engaged in critical thinking through math, beast math, through STEM, through Amira. Most of the work that they have done were research projects, and they kind of collaborated together. So no student was working by themselves. They were all collaborating and working together. They developed these skills through literacy, Amira, they had daily access to Amira, and Math Beast, and that was for the ELOC program, the exercise creativity in art, design, and open-ended projects. They gained experience through outdoor explorations. We had some enrichment activities where we had people visit the camp. And this is where the students had the opportunity to connect with different cultural backgrounds or different engagement activities so that the students had more experiences. Across the 3 programs, we shared a focus on safe routines, active engagement, academic continuity, and meaningful student products. Students left with the work that they made and could show their families what they have made. And it supported to build more confidence and evidence what working. The 3 programs, if you look over here, the 3 programs, the ELOC were invited to the program and it was run from June 15 to July 17. The Step Up to Kinder, it was offered to the students who didn't have any prior experience, school experiences, and it also ran from June 15 to July 17, and the ESY, it was offered to students from preschool till grade 8. And these were the students that attended the class from the sessions from June 15 to July 13. Yeah. For the CHAMP camp, program was offered from 8:30 to 3 if the student needed to use the bus. After 3, the students, they could stay till 5:30, but their parents had to pick them up from Washington Elementary School. Step up to kinder, it was from 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. And this is what is more appropriate for these young students. And the extended learning program runs from 8:30 to 3 p.m. For the EVAL students, it was offered for 140 students. It doesn't mean that all of them showed up on a daily basis. Unfortunately, there's no way to make sure that the attendance is happening at that level, but we had almost around 100 students participating throughout the summer, which was from based on my previous, I don't have any previous experience, but previous knowledge from the last year, it was almost the same number of students who participated. It was more centered on hands-on activity that would complement and not repeat what the students have done during the school year, because we didn't want to have some redundancy. We wanted the students to be able to have fun, but at the same time, we can learn by having fun. This is why the champions team, they have created some engagements that supported the student learning through Amira and MassBeat and implemented that into their program on a daily basis, where the students, whatever that they have learned in Amira, that the cyber that they have learned, they would use them the next day in some of the activities that were proposed during the camp. Same thing with the math, the activities have to do with if they learned about addition and they were working on creating some problem-solving situations for them that would lead to using the math skills that they have learned about in their time during math-based engagement. So there was a lot of collaboration. Everything was around a theme, and the students weekly they were engaged in a theme unit all the activities and engagement were leading towards more understanding for that theme that was chosen by the team. It was about collaboration, literacy, creativity, and problem solving. And here are some pictures from the camp. I tried to cover the student faces, but it was fun to see how much they were engaged in summer activities. So going back, how much they were engaged, Amira, it was a reading support tool that they use, and it is a tool that the students are so familiar with because it was implemented on a daily basis during the school year. Same thing for Beast Math. So it wasn't a new tool that the students were not familiar with. It was an opportunity for them to keep on building these skills. There were in Champions program, there were time for structured reading where they supported the students to read and spend time reading together. Hands-on STEAM activities, and definitely they worked on their research skills whenever they were looking for something or finding solutions to different problems. This is where the coaches supported the students into that process. Step Up to Kinder, it was designed for TK students who had no previous experiences in school. And the program was offered from June 15 to July 17, from 8:30 to 11:30, as I've shared earlier with you. The program was offered to 10 students, but only 5 parents opted in. So it was offered for 10, but we only had 5 students. That didn't stop the teacher from creating very useful engagement and activities for them. And most of the activities were centered around a book that was read. And it was around the theme that the students really engaged in, and they practice school routines and classroom expectations, how to get into the classroom, how to greet, because some of them, they had a language barrier, so it was really important for them to ease them into understanding the language and feeling more comfortable into a classroom setting. So it was about building comfort with peers, with adults, within a classroom setting, but also within a school setting. So it was good for them to see how they move from area to area across the school, and how they can become more independent when they get to their own school sites. And it's also built around some STEM challenges and art projects that the students were involved in, and I believe the pictures can show some of these engagements. They learned about math, counting, using the beads, using games that they played in the classroom together. So it was really building the language, building skills, building communication skills within the small group and with adults. The extended school year, it was a continuity of services. The program supports qualifying students with the IEP. So these are the students who we know that if they do not have these services, when the school starts again in the fall, they would be falling behind. So we didn't want that to happen to them. And the program served 31 students, and they were grouped according to in 3 classes according to their age. So we had the young ones together, TK, K, and then from 1st to 4th together, 5th to 8th together. And most of these students, if they do not get the support that they need, we would see a regression. So it was important to continue supporting them based on their IEPs. So it was every single teacher had the IEPs of the student and prepared lesson plans according to the student's needs. So there was a lot of differentiation based on the student's needs. And they got the support because we had multiple aides in every single classroom so that we can better support the students. What else? And most of these students are nonverbal, so it was another way to communicate with them was through stories, through art, how they can show their understanding in different ways other than communicating. So you could see some artwork over here. They did the gardening with the older ones because they felt that they wanted them to be involved in that. And it was a good experience to see the kids moving around, exercising, being involved in different ways. And with a smaller group, it was more targeted than having like in the normal context of a classroom. How the summer aligned to the district goals, we know that maybe if we look at the 3 programs, we were looking at critical thinking and problem solving across the 3 programs. That was one of the targets that the teachers worked on, but also collaboration because they wanted the students to learn together and try to find solutions together. Definitely creativity and innovation, trying to find different ways of expressing ourselves and not only verbally, but through paint, through music, dancing. So it was a little bit of everything and exploring different experiences and definitely literacy for the ELAW students. That's all. If you have any questions.
Thank you, then.
Thank you.
Questions?
I have one question. Did it work out for the ELOC one in particular to have like the doctor truck or the dentist truck come by and?
It was great to have the dentist on board. That was a great experience for the students and for the families. And we had a lot of families who signed up. And the communication with the dentist was very straight to the point. And after the services that he offered, the parents got notification of what he has done. And this is something that he shared with me and I shared with the families.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for the families who couldn't make it.
Yeah, that's great. And then my other comment is I think it's great that Champ Camp went until 5:30. I think that's perfect to,
We offered both opportunities, I mean, because based on the previous experience, when the bus was at 5:30, nobody, I mean, the participants were very minimal, so this is why we
Yeah.
offered it at 3, and then the parents who needed that time till 5:30, they had to pick up their own kids from there, and the communication was very well handled, and everything went great. Thank you.
great work.
Thank you.
I had one question also, for the step up to kinder, which is often for incoming kindergarten students that have not had any preschool, correct, or the PK. And we often to 10, we had 5. Do you know how that compares to prior years, or how are we able to kind of figure out who to offer that to, make sure that we aren't missing?
I honestly don't know what happened in the previous year, so maybe this is something that I can work with
The second part of the question, then, which is, like, how do we identify the 10 sort of families to offer it to, and how do we make sure that we're getting the word out that this program is available?
Uh,
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that, Danya, just with the history. So it started in 2019, and that year we had 13 kids. We tend to have between 5 and 13. Last year there actually were 0 that actually signed up, so they didn't end up serving it last year. However, the ways that we do it are we go through registration and we pull any students that have never been in a preschool class or students that we might be questioning whether they should go TK or K or anything like that. So it is a culminated list with principals and with our community and then registration. And we also work closely with Gigi, our coordinator of student and family engagement, to pull those names. Um, it does sound like we offered it to 10 this year, but only 5 of them took us up on it. So I'd be curious to know just the barriers on that and see what we can do going forward to try and increase that. Because we have heard from people that attend it that it's very well appreciated and the students learn a lot. And it's taught by a longtime kindergarten teacher, so it's a pretty amazing program.
Thanks,
Thank you.
I do have a question. I just also wanted to say I love the focus on student engagement and connection. It just, and even seeing these pictures, I mean, and we can't see their little faces, but you can just get the sense of all of the wonderful things that they were doing. I wanted to just know a little bit about staffing and how each, it sounds like probably each was staffed differently.
Yes.
How did that look?
We didn't need to worry about champions because this is something that they are taking care of for people. So that was not a Burlingame school district. Yeah, responsibility, so we didn't need to work on that. But for the staffing for the ESY and the step up to kinder, there were teachers applied for these positions and we interviewed them. Same thing for the parents, there were some interviews so that we can better understand who could be on the team. And with the interviews, it wasn't only me, it was a committee of people being there, and maybe it was the behaviors that they were also involved in that decision making based on their experiences with the students.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Next up. Item 10. A Franklin Kitchen. Central Kitchen, GMP, application.
Hi, I'm Alicia, one of the program managers from Johnson Arts Architecture. So I'm here to present the Franklin Central Kitchen guaranteed maximum price for construction. That will be done by Burlingame Builders. This included not only pre-construction services, but also the construction services that you see as the total price. Earlier, as part of the ratification under the consent items, you included the GMP for the temp kitchen services. So as part of the guaranteed maximum price of this $7,622,916, we went through a process of value engineering with both district staff as well as with Dan and the project architect, to find any way of removing scope, which you can see as part of items number 1 through 3 in the backup. These reductions were discussed as ways to try and get this as close as we can to the original construction budgets that we have in the, budget allocation summary. In addition, there's some, if there's any resources in the future, we can recommend to the board, to add some or all of them back in, at a later date. As part of this, as part of all of the numbers associated with the pre-construction, services total both the lease amendment 1 and lease amendment 2 were totaling around $7,981,997. Also, as part of the additional resources, which Jen Baker has worked very, very hard on, there's another resource of $1.3 million allocated to this project budget, which includes funds for the temp facilities, the electrical upgrades for the actual all of the kitchen that will be in Franklin, and for the new kitchen equipment. Therefore, with these added funds, we are able to do the project. Any questions?
And just might clarify for me, so, and this will be the final amount, assuming that there's, overruns, but there's not another amendment for lease that, this is the full scope.
Correct, this is the whole scope. We've had a lot of coordination items between the project architects, HAA, and with Rivian during this, because we're still not through DSA yet, we're almost there. So based off of that, there's been a lot of conversations to make sure that we're trying to capture as many things as possible as part of this GMP to avoid any future lease amendments, but I can't promise that.
Any questions? Okay. So I guess for this event, so voting item, I just want to thank you, Jen, for tracking down, the credits released or grants or whatever it is for the electrification, because that's a material percent of projects funded that way, so that's fantastic. So I'll make a motion to approve the GMP item 10A. Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thanks, Alicia.
Yes.
Do the next one too. That's all right. 10B.
So this is, for the following the CEQA provisions in regards to any construction projects in a public school, project. This is a recommendation, for the notice of exemption as part of the project. So most of the projects within the school district, are modernizations, playground improvements, play structures, utility, and all the other infrastructure projects. Do not include impacts which would rise to the level of anything under the CEQA laws, the California Environmental Quality Act. As part of this project of new construction in addition for the Lincoln new admin classroom building and new library. We contracted with an environmental consultant, David J. Powers, who we've done so in the past, just like Franklin Kitchen, McKinley TK, and the SRC here at BIS. They assess whether this project is exempt from CEQA or if there is any other impacts that might be associated. After their review of both, after the review of both archival drawings based on how old the school is, because it's older than 50 years, especially those two front buildings that were going to be removed. And any other items included on CEQA, they deem the project exempt. So we are recommending that we follow through with their recommendation. Any questions?
I was just gonna say that there's some really interesting Burlingame School District history pictures.
Yes.
Very part of the neighborhood, so if anyone's interested in that, there's.
They have fun.
I was somewhat surprised that you have to do all that to do a school project in California, but I know that's how it works, so.
It's because the category of 50 years or older.
Okay.
Once you hit that category, you have to go through all the history to make sure that there's nothing in there that would deem it historical.
Okay.
So that's why they went to the Historical Society to find the information.
Okay.
They did the same thing with parents as well, just because of age.
Let's see, is there a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? Indeed, that's there. All right, so we're gonna move on to item 11, which is a first read of update to our policies. And Marla, do you want to introduce this one?
Yes, please. Thank you. So as you are aware, the district is given new board policies and administrative regulations about 4 times a year where we review them and then we bring them forward to the board. We had a large set that needed to come forward. So tonight we're bringing forward a large set for a first read. We did receive some communications on some of these that we'd just like to review quickly. In some areas, it talks about TK. In some areas, it talks about K. It can depend upon the policy and what it should say. By law and by definition with CDE, we are a preschool through third grade district. So we are going back and just making sure that that is correctly allocated in multiple different areas. Another thing that came up is there's a clerical error. In some spots it says 1825 Truesdales, and in some it says 2385 Truesdale, which was our temporary position before. We'll make sure that all of them are updated to 1825. We also have a question about the website for Title IX and that there are two complainant people to report to, and that is true. The board previously had us do the director of HR and then the deputy superintendent. So those two are currently listed and will get updated. A final one that came up is well, one was about AI and working on designating important components. So what we are charged to do from the state this year is to actually come up with an AI policy that we'll look at closer. We've been having a lot of discussions about currently the only AI that is data protected in our district is Google's Gemini. So due to our data share, so we're continuing to update our community, and at the same time, we'll have a group that looks at that because we have other things that might use AI like Grammarly, Hapara, and other add-ons. BP 5141.25 says that condoms can be available to high school. It's actually secondary students, and in the state of California, it is 7th grade and up is considered secondary. So our students are incorporated into that part. Should the board choose to move forward with 5141.25, they would be kept in a locked nurse's office because they do have to be available only by a trained individual. Sorry, I'm scrolling through my notes. There are a lot of leaves listed in 4361. HR reviewed those, and all of those leaves are in there, and it is consistent with our collective bargaining units. Sometimes Ed Code will change prior to a collective bargaining unit being updated, and they are working to make sure that those are updated in our CBAs, our bargaining agreements with our unions. And 4218.1 will be taken off as we are not a merit-based district. There's BPAR 4131.1. There was a discussion in March about the BP and AR being updated, and how are the components being used for teacher support and guidance. And so we're going to review that AR prior to bringing it back and make sure that it is incorporating all the information. 3541 BPAR talks about transportation routes and services. That is predominantly for drivers and our student drivers. We're not student drivers, so that line will be removed. 1312.3 talks about having more than one compliance officer. That's the one I spoke to. Complaints on instructional materials, 1312.2. So there is information. We removed the opt out. There is another way that parents have to do that, and that's via a new law. So we will make sure that that is a little bit clearer on that purpose. And I believe that was the main remarks we received. The reason they are written this way is a board policy is written with kind of an umbrella, and then the AR is how we do it. So sometimes it can be wordy or seem very law-based or collective-based. And I think that that's just part of the importance of them to make sure that we're updating them and keeping them up to date with our community. But they do get wordy and they do get very misunderstanding at times. So we work with a lot of our parents in our community to help understand them too. I don't know if there's any other questions on those.
Just one clarification, so it's a very large package, 600 pages, but it doesn't include all the policies, so if there's like the 2000 section are not included in there. I just want to confirm that
Yes.
in the package, it's not changing, is that right?
Yes, sorry, Doug. There is a comment here. Correct. There were no updates to the 2000s. That's why there are no 2000s represented in this bulk update.
So I have a follow-up on the 4131.1, the teacher supporting guidance. So just so I'm understanding, so I know we had talked in March of 25, as you mentioned, about the board policy, and the AR will come back to us next month and we'll kind of go through that. Is that correct?
That's correct. We'll work on defining it a little bit better. We did talk about the board policy and we will bring that back next month.
Okay, great. And then do we need to talk about the 5141.25, the availability of condoms? I guess we have until next month.
Yeah, we can talk about it now, we
Yeah.
can talk about it in September, but I think we should talk about it, any preference? I think we're probably either striking it or keeping it, with, there's no administrative regulation with this one, Marla?
Correct, there is not.
Okay, so the thing about keeping them locked in the nurse's office is kind of not readily apparent when you read the policy, so. Yeah, well, why don't we talk about it now, as long as we are, so. My initial thought was it should come out because it looks like it only applies to high school students, and that was that seems out to be a terminology thing that includes eighth graders, but. We don't currently have the policy. I think we should probably, if we do think that it's necessary, we probably should add some, like, make it clear how it's implemented, so, because I think some people. It's pretty open-ended, and I think there might be some concerns. With some people, we have, you know, our oldest students are eighth graders, so it's not for everyone, so, I don't know, those are my thoughts, but.
Yeah, I would certainly be open to having it be something that we have in Burlingame. I'd be very interested to see what staff would come back with as the specifics and logistics of making that happen. I don't know that that's something we are meant to decide today, but I would definitely be interested in seeing what that should look like for the next week.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then maybe change the language to secondary, if that makes sense, Marla, instead of.
Yes.
Just so.
Yeah.
That's with our group.
Fully in agreement with that plan?
Yeah. I'd like to add a little more information about it too, but I don't see why it be treated any different than any other public health situation.
Okay. Great, so. We're requesting a little more information on how it will be implemented and. If we-
Perfect.
So then I'll make that part of the policy, we do, it's clear to everyone.
Great.
And we'll discuss it again in September.
Great, thank you.
Anything else anyone would like to talk about now? So this is the first read, we'll bring this again in September and we'll vote, but we can talk about it now as well. The only time we can talk about it is now in September, so, if there's other things that people come across, we can, you know, flag them for the next meeting. Okay, great. Thanks. All right, so that was item 11A. We'll move on to item 11B, which is another policy, but it's on its own item, which is review of reserve policy 3105.1. Description.
So I do want to note there is a clerical error on the board write-up. It does state 11,145,000
and $94. And in the actual reserve policy, it's $11,146,094. So I do want to note that there is a clerical error. This is to increase the amount for the strategic foundation support from 2.71 million to 3 million. That's the BCE funding. And then also we have further description for the other economic uncertainty funding. And that's something that we can discuss if you want to have actual dollar amounts here, because I know there's been some discussion in the state about increasing the reserve amounts overall in the state to cover school districts, as well as being a basic aid district, and our cash flow is an issue. So that's something I wanted to bring this evening for discussion.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Jen?
I mean, I think actually having the amounts listed is great. I think the more transparency, the better, and this is additional transparency for folks, and so I'm definitely in support of this solution.
Yeah, I kind of came out a little bit the other side, so I understand increasing the community reserve because we're getting larger gifts from DC, right? So that's meant to make sure that if we don't get a gift in a year, that we have monies to cover that. So it makes sense to me. It's sized similar to the gift, so that part I get. And sorry, I'm a little the new language about 117 has 3.7 million for economic uncertainty, et cetera. I just putting the dollar amounts to the dollar in the policy isn't some like policy questions. I think there's a constant change over time. So and the inflation and everything changes, all the dollar numbers change. So I guess I was thinking, and maybe if there's other instances where we have that kind of detail that to me it didn't look like the one also got.
So annually, we do a report that was brought to the board in June. So it is something that we do go to that level of detail. So changing the policy, that's something that the number of dollars amount changes. We're going to have to change this board policy annually or whenever that occurs. So you are getting reported. It is transparent in June.
So when we do that reallocation at the end of the fiscal year, we say we need to move some money into this account, that actually goes and updates the policy. That is the language of the policy.
It does not actually update the actual policy. It is just a separate item that is required by the state to report out to the community. And this is just a reserve board policy. And I think the big thing in the past has been to stipulate what the amount is to hold aside for that strategic foundation support. So previously it was 2.71 million and hasn't been changed for a bit. And so we wanted to put that 3 million in the reserve policy.
Okay, I guess I just am in favor of taking the other language out, because if we don't, when we reallocate money, I don't think we necessarily need to change the policy to be that exact. So just because of
And I guess maybe a sort of middle ground might be that something like Addition Fund 17 has additional reserves for economic uncertainties, because I do think it's important that there is that in this policy, because this is called reserve policy, right? It's not a reserve for strategic foundation policy, right? So this is our reserve policy. I do think it's important to note in some way that there are other funds that are held in reserve for various purposes. So I do not feel strongly about having the actual numbers necessarily in there, because as you say, those are available in other ways at other times. But I do think the note, just saying maybe in addition, Fund 17 has additional reserves for economic uncertainties, and to list those might be a good way to sort of capture the whole of the spirit of what I was looking for with it. The numbers, dollars and cents that have to then be updated necessarily.
Right.
Reflected by occurrence.
Yeah, because it's gonna change from money spent. So I agree with that. I think that's a good change. And I mean, the policy question is, do we want a 10% reserve, or do we want a 7% reserve, well, we have 10% in here. So to me, this is more just but I like it saying where the different funds are. That belongs in here. Okay, so are we, Jen, would you like us to propose the change language and then vote on that? Okay. You want to try it?
Sure. In addition, Fund 17 has reserves for economic uncertainties, comma, curriculum adoption, comma, technology replacement, and technology replacement. There is the general.
As reserves for economic activities. The general fund has
Additional reserves for economic uncertainties.
yeah, so just take that number, obviously.
And then maybe strike this, the total amount of committed reserves.
Okay. All right, so I'll move approval of those changes. All in favor?
I,
Okay, 4-0.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the second. Who was it? Me, thank you.
All right. So we'll move on to item 11C, board policy 5030 student wellness.
Yes. Jen, yeah.
Jen, second.
Bringing forth tonight, we have added the non-discrimination language to our student wellness policy. And we have been going through a child nutrition audit, so it was recommended to add that language to our wellness policy. Thank you to Jamie Calleros for.
Okay. Any questions on that? No. Okay, I'll move the approval of Nico. We want to buy it. On favor?
Aye.
Roll second. Passes for the 0. Okay, now we move on to. Next presentation. So let everyone know what to.
You just will.
Okay, 12A, sorry. Okay, 12A, approval of variables from waiver, plus Harvard.
Good evening, President. Is this on? Yes. Good evening, President Brown, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Silversmith. Item 12A, request approval for a variable term waiver from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing and the hiring of Cristina N. Granillo as interim principal of Washington Elementary School for the 2026-2027 school year. Ms. Granillo brings 11 years of experience in special education and 3 years of school site and district leadership experience. Since 2023, she has served as a program specialist in Burlingame School District, supporting IEP implementation, professional development, and parent outreach. Prior to that role, she served for 8 years as an education specialist and special day class teacher, right at Washington Elementary, managing the resource program, coordinating student success teams, and acting as teacher in charge. Her leadership record across BSC also includes serving as summer programming administrator in 2022, sitting on the Washington School Site Council, and serving as secretary for the Burlingame Educators Association. Ms. Granillo holds a bachelor's degree from UCLA, a master's in special education from CSU Northridge, and is completing her administrative credential coursework through the San Mateo County Office of Education. To ensure seamless leadership at Washington Elementary while she finishes her administrative services credential, it is recommended that the board approve the variable term waiver and the appointment of Cristina Granillo as interim principal. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, any questions? Great. Would someone like to make a question?
Oh, sorry, you should have.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's hear.
sorry.
You have 12B as well?
Yes. Item 12B, request approval of a variable term waiver from the CTC and the hiring of Tamara B. McCoy as interim principal of Hoover Elementary School for the 2026-2027 school year. Ms. McCoy is a deeply respected educator with nearly 30 years of teaching and leadership experience within the Burlingame School District. She helped open Hoover Elementary School in 2016 and has served as a fifth grade teacher and teacher in charge, overseeing daily site operations and administration as needed. At Hoover, she has served as district grade level lead, universal design for learning site liaison, Safe School Ambassador Site Lead, and member of the School Site Council. Prior to her time at Hoover, she served 17 years at Franklin Elementary School, contributing to site leadership teams, safety planning, and California Distinguished School Initiatives. Ms. McCoy holds a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies from California State University, Hayward, and a professional peer multiple subject credential from the College of Notre Dame. To maintain continued strong administrative leadership at Hoover Elementary while Ms. McCoy completes her administrative services credential, it is recommended that the board approve the variable term waiver and her hiring as interim principal. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, move approval. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Yes.
I make a motion.
Can I second? All in favor?
And she's here in the audience.
All right, we'll move on to 12C, hiring of administrator, graduation services. Carl, Ronald.
Item 12C is the recommended approval of Martha Ladd as the Director of Student Support Services for the Burlingame School District. Ms. Ladd is an executive educational leader with extensive experience in special education, student services, and district operations. She most recently served as interim deputy superintendent and director of special education and student support services in the Pacifica School District. In these roles, she oversaw special education programming, developed MTSS and PBIS frameworks, managed labor negotiations as lead management negotiator, and directed student safety initiatives. Her prior experience includes 4 years as Director of Educational Support Services and 6 years as elementary principal at El Granada Elementary in the Cabrillo Unified School District, along with 16 years of direct instructional experience as a literacy coach and elementary teacher. Ms. Ladd holds a Master of Arts in Educational Administration from San Francisco State University, a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Connecticut, a Clear California Administrative Services credential, and a multiple subject Clear credential. It is recommended that the board approve the hiring of Martha Ladd as our Director of Student Support Services. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions, and she is here in the audience.
I don't do well already.
Questions? Okay,
I vote to approve.
Okay.
all in favor? Congratulations. All right, we'll move on to 13, statement of board members. Let's move this space. Yes.
I wanted to maybe echo comments, as part of my, statement. Firstly, Marla's comments about the ribbon cutting at the community last night, seeing that family resource center and just what a resource that's going to be for the families of Burlingame. It's just, I mean, it's phenomenal. So we're so happy to see that. And then the TK building is so beautiful. I mean, it's just the learning that's going to happen in that space is incredible. So it's just wonderful to have been there. And then Samanthi, I wanted to echo your comments about staffing and seeing that very long list, and the consent agenda, and seeing all of the amazing folks that we have joining the SB team. And that does not come without a tremendous amount of work from everybody, under Carla's leadership and, of course, Carla and just everybody, the whole team. And I just want to thank you all for all the work we've done to make that happen. Thank you.
That's basically what ribbon cutting was really wonderful and it makes it very apparent, and a very long list of hires that you all have been working very hard. Thank you.
I will echo what they said and what I started with. This is such a huge and positive way to kick off the year. And I know even if it wasn't a long list, we would still be cheering. So thank you. Thanks for all the work you've done, in the fall and in the spring, but also in the summer, and the short summer, and how much you guys have accomplished. It's great.
Great, I'll just add my additional compliments that, great work, great facilities work too over the summer. A lot of done. Very excited for the new school year, and yeah, thank you. So we'll move on to public statements related to non-agenda items. We do have a public comment from Laura Fetter. Laura.
Thank you.
Miss Laura, so sorry. I'm going to give another place to be in the previous agenda posted from June 16th, there was an item that was approved for the resolution of the 2025 26 authorizing use of the budget that we want these mentioned. And the authority to the superintendent to enter into that. I would like to request that parents be updated as to what safety improvements can be made in multi-purpose rooms. And whether there can be NPR and other regards have been evaluated as safe for children going to school. As is understandable, it's been a large concern for parents in the community, and providing visual communication as to the status and understanding of the steps that have been taken, including whether they got a contract with the prosecutor.
Thank you. I think we can ask Marla to follow up on those items. I know there's going to be a plan for communication, so we'll do that.
Happy to follow up for you.
Thank you. All right, so we will recess closed session. It's 6:39.
There's a couple of, oh,
Nope. Okay, we'll recess closed session. That's